Thanks for joining me again. This is Danny Cardwell from ThoughtWrestler.blogspot.com. This is part 2 of the Race Issues series, and I want to focus on black crime. Inside of every ethnic group, there are signifiers that can be used to create an artificial hierarchy. The black community is no different. When you trace these back to slavery, you find, the light-skinned, the finer hair texture, even eye color. All of those things have been used to create a false hierarchy in which we could distance ourselves from the other. In the last 100 or so years that blacks have started to acquire wealth, we've added another level of distinguisher between us, and that's caused a lot of people inside the black community and the black elite, so to speak, air quotes, to try to separate themselves from our black brothers and sisters who find themselves on the lower rung of the socioeconomic ladder and some of the stereotypes associated with inner city life. I remember as a teenager Spike Lee's movie School Days. It was really the first time that I ever had my eyes open to the nuances of this, and it's a great film to watch. But basically there were two types of black on black crime on display, and one was class-based, which basically pitted the students at the HBCU, the fictional historically black college, versus the locals in the town that it was located in. And that was based on opportunity. It was based on jealousy. Inside the community, there were jobs that locals felt were given to the college students, and the college students had some sort of animosity and resentment to the way they were treated by the locals. But the more detailed black on black crime was inside the HBCU itself, and this was 1989, so the divestment movement in South Africa was very big, and so among the dark-skinned students, they were portrayed as militants and Pan-African students, and the light-skinned fraternity students, they were kind of portrayed as sellouts and Uncle Toms, and but the dynamic and the way that movie detailed that was something I never forgot. It's been 25 years since that movie's come out, and now with social media and people seeking to distance themselves, it's become more insidious. You can find right now, do a Google search, Pastor Daniel Manning, Tommy Sotomayor. You can find a ton of media figures and personalities that are willing to say anything about black people. They will say the worst things about black people. And what gets me is that they try to preface their criticisms of the black community as tough love, when in fact you can never find any instance of them ever offering any solution to any of the problems of inner city blacks. Their whole shtick is basically blaming black victims no matter the circumstance, and whether it's a form of police brutality, whether it's social engineering, whether it's failing school systems, these people look to find any reason to blame blacks for their plights. And that's not saying that there isn't some responsibility to be taken. I'm not wiping that off the table. But what I'm saying is that there's never any positive outlook. There's never any positive talk from these people. And I was really doing some research and finding out, and in psychoanalytic terms, this is called symbolic castration. And the premise of symbolic castration is that one tries to completely separate themselves from all of the identifiers of the group that they belong to. So if I can distinguish myself, if I can put enough distance between me and those inner city people or those ghetto people, I can separate myself and define for myself who I am. And the faulty logic behind that is that because that reality only exists in your head, those same people who seek to tear down the black community, what they've done is created a false reality, because inside the construct of race and race relations, there are people that just will not view your black body as being any different than the black bodies that you seek to distance yourselves from. And that's how, Henry Louis Gates can be arrested on his property, trying to break into his own house. I mean, whether or not Skip Gates, holds these views, and I don't believe he does. I've read some of his work, and he's worked tirelessly to help the community. But the point is that had he had that kind of attitude, it wouldn't have helped him, because he was in a confrontation that involved someone outside of the black race. So these superficial hierarchies, they only work as long as you're quote-unquote inside of the hood. If you meet someone of an Asian background or a European background and they hold similar views about the black community, you have not distinguished yourself in any way. And one point that I really like is an example that Brother Dick Gregory gave. And he said that you could give a person 5 PhDs, $10 million, and put them in a Rolls Royce. And if that black man is driving through a white neighborhood and the siren comes on, he squeezes the steering wheel. And that comes from inside of you. And when I heard Brother Gregory say that, it really reflected something inside of me. This war inside of the black community and the way it has been exploited by those with a political agenda who seek to further criminalize black men and women, it's just an insidious form of it. And I just can't stress enough how harmful it is. And maybe some folks can sleep at night. That form of self-hatred, and I think that's what it is, that form of self-hatred comes from a lack of knowledge of oneself. And that's one thing I give the brothers in the 5% Nation and some of the brothers inside the Muslim community, other factions in the Muslim community, I give them their proper credit for, is that they really try to instill a sense of value and self into the men and women that they are around. So when I think of black on black crime, yes, obviously I think of inner city violence, I think of rural violence. But one thing that I won't be dominated with is the idea that blacks are the only ones committing crime. Another point that Brother Gregory brought up was that if you go to China, who do you think are committing crimes and murders? It is the Chinese killing Chinese. If you go to Italy, it's Italians killing Italians. And the fact that, over 90% of white women are murdered by white men is, another startling reality. And yet it's part of the equation that we really don't talk about. So with that said, I want to wrap up part 2. I will put a link on this video to the blog post. The actual post has a little bit more detailed information, and I thank everyone that's watched this video and supported this series. Have a great day. Peace.